Yeah, just assisted John Roeder in the corner for a three, sending us to double OT. And it feels great to be back at double OT on a beautiful Halloween Monday. Vibes are a bit down. You might be at home right now. Can't go out. You got school in the morning. You got a job in the morning. I understand. So I'm here to pick up the vibe a little bit. It's still Halloween, so we're going to be delivering some Halloween NBA hot takes by myself. I'm going solo on this one. This one's just me. But I'm very excited. I got some takes ready. I got some things I want to talk about. And it's gonna be a great episode. This isn't a Halloween special. I hope to be doing stuff like this all the time. Just coming out, and it's more of just a free discussion. Just coming out, just once a week, just talking basketball, just talking about anything basketball. And I'm just excited. I'm gonna go through my top fives in every position, just to get that out of the way while the season's still fresh. Then I'm gonna be doing a little take about a little man who goes by the name of. Actually, we'll save that for later. And we're just gonna do some talking, talk about players, talk about the past, talk about certain things. We're just gonna be fun. Just 30 minutes of just talking about NBA. I'm very excited for this. So we're just getting right to it. We're gonna talk about our top five players in the game right now at each position. We're gonna start with point guard and trickle the way down. Some of these may be obvious. Some of them might surprise you a bit. This is my personal opinion, and I'm very excited. I'm very excited. We're gonna start at point guard, and we're gonna get right into it. I'm a bit of a small forward myself, so I know the game, and let's just get right into the list. Let's just get right into it. So starting at number one, starting at the point guards, we're gonna be doing top five. I have top 10 ready, but we're not gonna do the top 10. And this might surprise you, but an honorable mention, as well as he's been playing, and he's kind of been silencing me as a bit of a hater. As well as he's been playing to start this season, I have John Morant as an honorable mention. Well, John Morant is playing so good that it felt wrong not to mention his name and just leave him off the list. So I'm gonna give him an honorable mention because it felt wrong just to completely ignore him. So, well, he'll get an honorable mention. I just don't think he's better than the five guys that are on this list. I think he's overrated. I mean, the Grizzlies record was what 15-2 without him on the court last year. That's just huge. Your team's a 2 seed, but they have a better record without you than they do with you. Obviously, you had a big game in the playoffs. You were like damn near 50. And he shows up day in and day out. He hasn't proved much, and he's very athletic. He's very talented. Yes, I still think he needs to work on his shot, and I don't think his game is polished, and he's as proven as some of these guys. And being proven isn't everything. Like Chris Paul is proven, but is he a better player than John Morant right now? No, but Chris Paul isn't in this top five, and I think these five guys have a more polished game, and they're gonna have better seasons than John Morant. John Morant could silence me and win the MVP this year, and you know then I can't say anything. But if you're a John Morant fan, the John Morant fans are oblivious. They are oblivious. They love him so much, and he gets so much gas from the media. He's so loved by the media that we paint this picture of him of being this elite point guard. I'm not saying he's not. He's extremely elite. He's very fun to watch. I like John Morant. I just think he's slightly overrated. I start at number five. I have a guy that is one of the most hated people in the media, and that's why I think the narrative that John Morant is better than this guy is just wrong. But it's all about media. It's all about hate. Everyone hates this guy, but everyone loves John Morant. But at five, I got Trae Young, and I think Trae Young is the better player than John Morant. So John Morant is obviously way more athletic than Trae Young. We're not gonna argue that. John Morant's taller. He's way bouncier. He's got way more explosiveness. He's got way more acceleration. He's faster with the ball in his hands. John Morant is more athletic than Trae Young. Let's be real. Trae Young is obviously a liability on defense. He's not a good defender. Okay, we can get that out of the way right now. But neither is Ja. Ja is probably better than Trae Young just due to his athleticism and speed. But Trae Young is not. John Morant is not an explosive, elite defender in the on the perimeter. And then Trae Young led the league in total points and total assists last year. He's a better playmaker. He's a better flat-out scorer. He can score in every single way. He's way better shooter. Trae Young is a way better shooter than Ja. Ja is probably better at getting to the basket because of his athleticism. But Trae Young still gets to the basket. He's a very crafty finisher. He's a great floater. He can pull from mid-range. And his three is one of the best in the league. And John Morant's three is so shaky. He's a better playmaker. Not saying that John Morant's a bad playmaker. John Morant can play make. But Trae Young is maybe the best in the league. He led the league in total assists. He's a better playmaker. He's a better pure scorer. He's going to average more points. He's just a better ball handler. And defensively, neither of them are that good. So you can give John Morant the edge on defense, sure. And I think Trae Young is a more polished player. Now you could say that John Morant's team has had more success. Yeah, it's true. But Trae Young has led his team. John Morant's this approaching his third year. Trae Young's approaching his fourth. So fourth or fifth, actually. It might be his fifth year. So You can argue that, but Trae Young has brought his team to an Eastern Conference Finals and with 6 games with the Bucks. John Morant's only gone to the semifinals. So, he's not there yet. And I think the Grizzlies are not going to be seeing the Western Conference Finals anytime soon with the way the West is. So I think Trae Young is the better player as of right now. And if you disagree, you got to tell me. You got to be able to tell me why John Morant is better than Trae Young. You have to be able to tell me why. At number 4, for me, I have Kyrie Irving. And to everyone who might think John Morant is better than Kyrie Irving, let's be honest. Kyrie is a proven player in this league. He's a NBA champion. He's a guy that we know can go out there and give 30 every night. He's the best dribbler, best ball handler we've ever seen, in my opinion. And when it comes to overall scoring ability, he's probably the best on this top 5 point guards list. Kyrie goes under the radar when talking about top 5 point guards because of his off the court antics and his on the court availability. Recently, he's been on the Nets. They've been not playing in the playoffs. They haven't had many deep runs. The year when the Bucks won the championship, 2021, the Nets were up 2-0 on the Bucks without Harden. Harden was hurt. It was just Kyrie and KD. They were up 2-0, and in Game 2, they dominated the Bucks so bad that the Bucks and the Nets had their like G League players in the third quarter. It was the third quarter, and they were playing their bums because the Nets were dominating them so bad. So the Nets went up 2-0 on the Bucks with just Kyrie and KD, and Kyrie and KD looked unstoppable, and it was like, yes, it's over. Then the Bucks squeak out Game 3, and Kyrie sprains his ankle or hurts his ankle, and then the Bucks are able to rally back. But we forget, and then after that, the fall apart, and the vaccine, and Kyrie not playing with the vaccine, and coming back next year and getting dominated by last year and getting dominated by Celtics. I understand that, and even in that season where he got hurt, he was doing the whole like personal issues. He was always hurt. He was always taking days off. So, John Morant and these guys are playing all the time. You see them all the time. Kyrie is, feels like he's never on the court. But if we're looking at being at this list, he's a better shooter than John Morant. He's one of the maybe he's right there with Trae Young. He's an elite shooter. He's the best mid-range shooter in this top 5. He's the best ball handler in this top 5. He's a better defender than both of them. He's more proven than both of them. He's more clutch than both of them. He's the best finisher out of all of them. When it comes to putting the ball in the basket, Kyrie does it better than everyone on this list. 100%. He's the best ball handler. It's just, when it comes ever since he's left Cleveland, he's been nowhere in the playoffs. He hasn't won. He's been off the court. He's been hurt. It's been disappointment after disappointment. So that's why we have him at 4, right behind a guy that I believe Kyrie is better than. And this one's really tough for me. I do think Kyrie is a better player than this dude. But this guy has the edge just because he's the opposite of Kyrie when it comes to playoffs. I got Damian Lillard. And Damian Lillard is back this season. He's reminding us why he's an elite point guard. He was hurt last year, and everyone's saying John Morant's better, Trae Young better. No. Let's pay our dues to where they need to be paid to Damian Lillard. He's one of the best players in our league. He was always in the top 10. Now I still think he's in that top 15 range, probably top 12. Damian Lillard is a guy that can go out there and give you 50. He's the second best shooter on this list. I would say. I think he's right behind number 1, who we'll get to. And Dame is one of the most clutch players of all time. And he consistently brings bad teams to the playoffs and is able to work with those bad teams. Even this year's going to tell a lot about what Dame's about. This Trailblazers team that he has is not bad, but he's a lot of young guys. Simons, the rookie Shannon Sharp. His second best players were Jeremiah Grant, Nurkic. He's got a very subpar roster. And if Dame, they paid him big money for a reason. If Dame's able to drag this team, which he already is, they already have the best record in the West, 5-6 games into the season. If he's able to drag this team to a 5 seed, win a playoff game or 2, that tells you a lot about who Dame is. Because I don't think Kyrie, with the situation Dame's in, is leading that team to the playoffs. I don't think Trae Young is leading that team to the playoffs. I don't think John Morant is leading that team to the playoffs. I'm not saying the Trailblazers are terrible, but they're not some great roster, especially in the West. I mean, you think they're look at the roster, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, the Grizzlies. These teams have way better talent than Dame. But Dame is one of the best shooters, one of the best scorers. He can get to the basket. He can kill you from mid-range. He has that dog in him. He's got that dog in him. He's clutch, and he's just a winner. And, I love Dame. And I think we need to pay our dues to Dame at number 2. Number 3, excuse me. Number 2 and 1 are obvious. They're two probably top 5 players in this league. And, it's closer than you might think, but obviously number one is obvious. Number two, we have Luka Doncic, who my prediction to win MVP. He's the future of this league. He's 24, 25 years old. Um, he's going to be in his prime soon, but for the last 3 years, you think he's in his prime. He runs the league. He always performs in the playoffs, and gradually every year he gets better. He's right there in the first round, tough loss. Then he loses in 7 to the Clippers again, tough loss. Then last year he upsets the Suns, goes to the Western Conference Finals. He's getting there, and now his team's getting better. And he's never been given a star. He's never played with a star player. Now his best players I've played with probably Christian Wood and Jalen Brunson. He's never been played with a legitimate star player. Like Christian Wood is not a bad player. Jalen Brunson's not a bad player, but he's never played with a star. And another thing about Luka is he has that LeBron impact where he makes these guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, like dudes you don't even know about. He makes them. Tim Hardaway Jr. He was like he had his best. He's having his best years on the Mavericks. Like he takes dudes that you never really even knew and makes them good. Makes Kleber play to his strengths, make him the best possible player he could be. Same with Finney Smith. So he makes that impact. Everyone, he's a crybaby, complains about calls. I mean, he can give you 30-point triple-double any day. His team always wins. He's great in the playoffs. And another thing that you got to respect about Luka is that he always elevates his game in the playoffs. He never shrinks. If he's this kind of player here in the regular season, he's this kind of player in the playoffs, and he's been like that ever since he was a 20-year-old kid. So Luka, it's his league, and his defense, is questionable. I mean, but again, with a guy like Luka, that's all 48 minutes, has the ball in his hands. He does everything on the offensive end. I mean, you take it or leave it. Same thing with Trae Young. But he's probably top 5 player in this league. I probably put him at number 5, and it's gonna be his league soon. But at number 1, the best point guard in the league for our entire generation, Steph Curry. Steph Curry easily number 1. He's probably top 3 in the league right now. Best shooter we've ever seen. One of the best playmakers in the league. One of the best ball handlers in the league. Just won the championship. He's a 4-time champion. He's a 2-time MVP. He's probably approaching top 10 player of all time. One of the best scorers you've ever seen. Easy, Steph Curry. It's obviously Steph Curry. He's number 1. And if Luka wins the championship, if Luka wins the MVP and the championship this year, then we can have the discussion. If any of those guys on this list win an MVP and a championship this year, then we could talk about it not being Steph. But until then, it's Steph. Until then. Easy, lock it up. So now let's move on to the shooting guards. So that one had some controversy with Ja Morant. I feel like the shooting guards is another one that's going to have some controversy. I feel like small forwards are pretty straightforward, and all the other positions are pretty straightforward. But shooting guard and point guards are the ones that are close. So starting off the shooting guards list with number 5, I got a man who just made his first finals appearance and is getting better every year. Plays the Boston Celtics. I got Jaylen Brown, and another person you may be confused about that's not on this list. I got Zach LaVine as an honorable mention. I don't think Zach LaVine is better than any of these 5 guys, but I think when you hear the 5 guys, you'll agree. You'll agree. No, credit to Zach LaVine, but he's never made it out of the first round, I don't think. And the Bulls, again, I don't have high expectation for them. I don't think they're going to be that great. And LaVine's a great scorer, but I think everyone on this list could score equally as good as him, and they haven't proven much. Jaylen Brown. I mean, you could argue Zach LaVine, Jaylen Brown for it. That's the one you could replace him with, but they're very close. But Jaylen Brown's a way better defender, and he just went to the NBA Finals, so I feel like Jaylen Brown is the edge. So Jaylen Brown, very elite defender. He's probably the best defender on this list out of these 5 guys. If I'm being honest, it's probably him. He's very versatile. He's very explosive. He can get to the basket. He can shoot that ball. He can get a bucket in the mid-range. And he impacts winning. He just went to the finals as the number 2. He's a proven number 2 option on a championship team. Jaylen Brown, nothing but great things to come. He's young. He's 25 years old. He's only going to get better. And he's probably the best defender. He's very versatile. I really like Jaylen Brown. He's earned his 5 spot. He's moved his way up. And I think he's surpassed Zach LaVine. At number 4 for me, I got another proven guy. I got Bradley Beal, one of the best scorers in this league. He can give you 30 any given night. His best season, he led the East in 20-point games. He's always at the top of the scoring list. It's just, when it comes to playoff success, it's not there. So same thing with Zach LaVine. I mean, I think Beal is a much better player than Zach LaVine. That's why I have him at 4. But, I mean, yes, he's been playing with poor talent this year, and we'll see what he could do with this year. He's got Porzingis. He's got Kuzma. He's got some more guys now. So maybe, he'll squeak in, like a play-in or something. But, you can't have another 12 seed year and then consider Beal top of the shooting guard. Eventually, there's got to be a gap. But as of right now, he's one elite scorer, just an elite playmaker with the ball. one of the best in the league. He deserves his stripes. I think deserves to stay at 4 for now. But this season is going to tell a lot about where Beal's going to rank. And at number 3, Devin Booker. The guy I would say was number 2, but I think he's number 3. I think Devin Booker, when he's hot, is one of the most dangerous players in this league. He's tall. He's a demon in the mid range. He can get to his spot. He's a great 3-point shooter. I mean, he led his team to the finals. He back-to-back years, he was the best player on a team that made it to the championship, and the best player on a team that was the number 1 seed and had the best record in the NBA. Obviously, everyone was writing him off because they fall apart last year, but I don't think that they won 7 games for the good Mavericks team, and they fell apart in Game 7. You know what happens, but you can't discredit D-Book. Last year he was in MVP conversations. He's one of the best scorers in this league. He could score on all 3 levels. Same thing with all these shooting guards. They're all on the same level scoring wise. Like they all can give you just all these guys are some of the best scorers in the league. And D-Book has proven playoff success, proven regular season success. He can score anyway. He's taller. He's a better defender, and he's a hard worker. I think D-Book cements himself at 3. I think he's better than those 2. And a guy that hot take, this one might be hot, that I think is better than him is Donovan Mitchell. I think Donovan Mitchell is number 2, and I think Donovan Mitchell this year deserves to be in MVP conversations. What he's doing right now is electric, and I'm excited. This new Donovan Mitchell on the Cavs. I think last year he was done with the Jazz, and in the playoffs he was just like not even there. He was clocked out. He was checked out, which is a bad thing from an attitude standpoint. But the 25-year-old Donovan Mitchell is looking electric on the Cavs, and he's another guy. He could give it to you any way you want, and he's more of a dynamic scorer in my opinion than D-Book because Devin Booker can shoot that ball. I mean, Donovan Mitchell can shoot that ball. He can shoot from the range, but he could definitely shoot from 3. But when it comes to getting downhill, he has explosiveness that D-Book doesn't. He could dunk on anyone. He gets up. He finishes around the rim. He throws it down. He could step back from 3 and great handles. And he's another guy that, he hasn't he's had some pretty slow playoff appearances. He was the number 1. But he's led the Jazz to the number 1 seed. He was the number 1 seed on the Jazz, and they fell apart in 6 or 7 games to the Clippers in 2021. And last year they just were terrible. But he was checked out. And the year before that, they blew a 3-1 lead in the bubble. So yeah, he's had some as being the number 1 option. He's had some some playoff letdowns, but he was young, 22, 23 years old. It's it's just part of it, and so is every guy on this list. So Devin Booker, very dynamic scorer, very athletic, good playmaker, and I think he's pound for pound better than every guy on this list. But the guy at number 1, he's one of the most hated players in the league, but he's just way more just proven and established, and he's an all-time great. And I still think he had a bad year last year, but I'm not ready to dethrone him. And I think technically I keep him as a shooting guard. For me, he's a shooting guard. I got James Harden. James Harden, number 1. He's an elite playmaker. He's the best playmaker of all of them. He makes plays for guys. He can average 10. Even when he's having a bad scoring game, he'll still give you 10, 11 assists. He's, his shooting has fallen off since, honestly, since Houston. He's never been the same shooter, but he's never been as much of an aggressive shooter. And I think he's going to find that back this year. You can already see the glimpses of it. But when he's hot, he's a great shooter. He's a great floater package. He's obviously the drawing foul stake is kind of hurting him, but he can still get to the basket. He's still crafty around the basket. He's a great floater package. He can score from the mid-range. He has a great 3. He's the best playmaker on this list. His defense has gotten better. And everyone likes James Harden defense. That's an old thing. His defense is not that bad now. And James Harden has proven, he's an MVP. None of those guys have that. He's an MVP. He's been to the finals. He's led his team to number 1. Yes, he's had playoffs. Every guy in this top 5 has had playoff letdowns. They all have. So don't hold James Harden's playoff letdowns and say D-Book is better because D-Book's had playoff letdowns. Donovan Mitchell has had playoff letdowns. I was saying Devin Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell has had playoff letdowns. Devin Booker has had playoff letdowns. Bradley Beal has had playoff letdowns. Jaylen Brown, Zach LaVine, all of them. So don't hold that against James Harden. Just because he's been in the league, all these guys are young. James Harden's much older. But don't discredit James Harden. He's one of the best scorers we've ever seen in this league. And yes, with time, his scoring is not how it was when he was in his prime, but his playmaking's the best it's ever been. And I expect a big year from him. And if he's terrible this year and they chokes, then maybe, then maybe this could be a discussion again. But as of right now, let's give our props to Harden. Wow. So we're going on to the small forwards. This one's going to be pretty breeze through. At number 5, we got Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, proven playoff winner. He's dragged a pretty all right Heat team to the finals in the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7. He's an elite defender. He's the best, probably the best defensive player I've said on this list yet. Best defensive player I've said on this list. He can guard any position. He's a dog. He could score from the mid range. His three shaky, but his ability to lead, subpar rosters and be a number one and take them to playoff success and be an anchor of a defense is something that you can't ignore. And just you got to give respect to a guy that elevates his game from here to here in the playoffs. And Jimmy Butler's proven, but I don't think he's better than our number 4 at Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum brought his team to playoffs, his championship the championship last year. Had a bit of a 6-game fall apart against the Warriors, but he had a great regular season. Obviously, he didn't play good in the finals, but he's a young kid. It's his first ever finals appearance. LeBron didn't play good in his first finals appearance. KD didn't play that good in his first finals appearance. It's how it works. No young kid is just gonna go into this first finals and just school. He's going up against a Warriors dynasty team who's done it 3 times already. Been to the championship, 5 times. So come on. It's just, and I think he's only gonna get better. He's gonna have MVP this year. He's already showing that. He had a great year last year. He was in MVP talks. He was first team All NBA. He had a great postseason. Let's not ignore everything else he did in the postseason. Just because he had bad finals, it doesn't take away from the elite postseason he had prior to the finals. So he's a very strong defender. He's one of the best wing defenders in that position. One of the best wing defenders at that position. He can shoot it from the mid range. He can get to the basket. He can light you up from 3. He's probably honestly, the best one-on-one player in the NBA. Jason Tatum's elite. And luckily, he has some very elite competition ahead of him. But if he was in another position, he'd be right there at the top. And at number 3, a man that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, we got Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard is so disrespected in this league. And I feel like the average person right now would say Jason Tatum's a better player. But Kawhi Leonard is so disrespected. And he's, in my opinion, the best wing defender in the NBA still. No one has dethroned Kawhi Leonard as a better wing defender yet. He is not Marcus Smart, not Jrue Holiday. None of those guys are better wing defenders than Kawhi Leonard. He is locked down. He won the Finals MVP in 2014 just because of his defense. His defense doesn't go anywhere. He can guard anyone. He can guard any position. Elite defender, one of the best defenders of all time. I rank him right there with Scottie Pippen as the best wing defender of all time. He's an elite mid-range scorer. He's a 2-time Finals MVP. He doesn't have a regular season MVP, which kind of hurts him, but he's a 2-time Finals MVP. He's a 2-time champion, and I think he has a good shot to win it again this year. He's coming off an injury. 2020, he had the bubble fall apart. He was having a great run up until that fall apart. He fell apart in the bubble, okay. Then 2021, they were right there, and I think they were better than the Suns, and they could have made it to the playoffs, and they could have been Clippers-Bucks, but he got hurt in that season, in that series against the Jazz, so they were going, it was Clippers-Suns, they didn't have him. If they have him in that series against the Suns, they probably win. So, he falls short. And then last year, the Clippers didn't make the playoffs. He didn't play. And Paul George hurt all year. He was hurt all year. So, everyone's forgetting about him just due to injury. But when he's healthy, he's an elite. He's the best. He's probably the best defensive player in the NBA. And he's scoring 25 a game. He's scoring 25 a game. He's lining you up from 3. He's scoring in the mid-range at will. And he's the best defensive player in the NBA. And he's a 2-time Finals MVP. Let's put some respect on Kawhi. And he's going to remind us why he's a probably top 5 player in this league when he's at his best. And he was a top 5 player in this league, probably top 3 just a couple years back. And at number 2, we have, in my opinion, Kevin Durant. We got to go with Kevin Durant at 2. Obviously, one of the best scorers of all time, maybe the best scorer of all time. Not much to say about Kevin Durant. He'll score from anywhere. He's 7-foot wing who could light you up from 3, light you up from mid-range, get to the basket. He's a versatile defender. He 2-time champion. You can argue what his championships are about, but 2-time champion, 2 times final MVP, 1-time regular season MVP, maybe the best scorer of all time. Not much to say about KD. But last year hurt him a lot. He didn't have that great of a year, and then he goes to the playoffs, gets absolutely manhandled and babied, and looked like a punk against that Celtics defense. Doesn't even get a game, and that hurts him. And then the year before that, he lost, but that wasn't on him. He had 50 points in Game 7 and was inches away from winning that game, literally. So yeah, I think KD is KD, but his antics off the court, his personality, sometimes he shrinks. So I think that's why you have to chill with saying he's better than the guy that I have number 1, which is LeBron James. I think LeBron James is the best player of all time. That's a segment for another day, and I really hope we'll get we'll get one of my Jordan fans on here, and we'll do a one-on-one discussion about why Jordan and LeBron go debate. I'm very open to that. And that's something else I really want to do is some more debates, but we'll get into that soon. We'll do some Jordan LeBron stuff. But I think LeBron's best player of all time. Last year he's had back-to-back disappointing years. I think 2021, if the Lakers stayed healthy, they could have been better than they were. Last year was just terrible. I mean, LeBron, he's obviously not the defensive player he once was. I mean, he's 37. He's not the defensive player he once was. He's not, he doesn't have the motor he once was, but he's still averaging 30 a game. He's still an elite scorer. He could still score anyway. He's still one of he's probably the top 5 playmaker in this league. And his defensive capabilities are still there. He's just older now. And yeah, the lack of team success is killing him, but you can't, it's not LeBron's fault that Rush is terrible. It's not LeBron's fault that AD gets hurt. And I think LeBron still has great years ahead of him. I still think he has a couple left, but I mean, the team success is driving him down. And yes, LeBron's not helping and it's hurting him quite a bit. I wouldn't say LeBron's the best in the league anymore, but I still think he's better than Kevin Durant. I still think he's a top 5 player in this league. So I'd say LeBron is still the best small forward in the NBA. Moving over to the power forwards. At number 5, let's take a break for a moment. This video is not sponsored by Coca-Cola. At number 5, we have Pascal Siakam, which might be an odd name, but a guy that I want to throw out on the radar that very well can make his way into this list soon with the way he's looking. Paolo Banchero. Obviously, he's only played 5 games. I'm not going to say he's better than Pascal Siakam, but watch out because he's going to be here soon. But the power forwards list is not as as deep and as good as you might think. So at number 5, we're going to go Pascal, who's very underrated. He's been in the playoffs the last couple of years. He obviously had a bad playoff series because in the bubble, that's where everyone wrote him off. Is that season he was second team All NBA in 2020, but then he had a bad playoff run and he kind of choked the series against the Celtics in the semi. So that's kind of where everyone wrote him off. And then 2021, the Raptors weren't good. That's why they had literally the 4th pick, is because the Raptors sucked and they literally had the number 4 pick in the draft because they were bad. And then last year, he had a great year. He was averaging 20-something a game. He was great in the playoffs. And, the Raptors losing 6 in the first round to a Sixers team that was better than them. But it's not anything to Pascal Siakam. He's already having a great start this year. He's been consistent. He is an NBA champion. And he was probably the second or third best player on a championship team. And he's a most improved player award. He gets better every year. And, he's better than Tobias Harris, Draymond. Pascal's better than those guys. Moving on to number 4, I have a guy that hasn't played much, but is definitely deserving of the spot, is Zion. I have big expectation for Zion. He had a rookie year where he only played – the guy played a third, not even a third of the season. He was still in consideration for Rookie of the Year. That's how good he was when he played. And then in his sophomore season, we forget he was an all-star starter. He was an all-star starter in the second season, but the Pelicans weren't good. They weren't even in the playoffs. They weren't even in the play-in. But he was an all-star starter in the second year. He averaged 20-something a game. He was so dominant. And then last year, he didn't play a single game. And then he came out looking out of shape. He didn't look good. So in his third year, he had barely played his rookie year, but still, when he did play, it looked amazing. Had a very good second year. He was an all-star starter. Then his third year, he didn't play. So now, all it takes is 1 season of you being hurt. Everyone forgets about you. So the third year, he didn't play, and he's just like, oh, John Morant better. Third year, he doesn't play, and now this year, he's showing us why he's so good. He looks great. He looks like the Zion he always has been. And I think Zion has proven that he's better than Pascal, and he's gonna be one of the best players in this league for years to come. Injuries, obviously, you're gonna hold him back, but I'm not basing these lists off of injuries. At number 3, which is kind of crazy to me that he's playing this position, but this is his position now, so we got to rank him here. We got Karl Towns, and if I'm being honest, if he was a center, he would be number 3 on the centers list too. So he's number 3 out of the way, but now he's a power forward. I mean, what's there to say about Karl Towns? He's 7 foot. He's way bigger than these other power forwards that are on this list, but he's a all-around scorer. He's the best shooting, maybe the best shooting big man we've ever seen. He won the 3-point contest last year. Unreal big man shooter. He could play make. He could score from you in the post. He could put the ball on the floor. He can get to the basket. When offensively, he might be the best offensive scoring big in the league. When it comes to just pure scoring as a center or just a 7-foot big, Karl Towns probably is the best. But he's very weak defensively. That's why they bought him Rudy Gobert. Now, obviously, it takes the weight off him. He's playing the 4, and now he's got Rudy Gobert down there anchoring it for him. So that's going to take a lot of weight off of him defensively, but he was always a weak defensive center. But now he's going to have to guard a little bit more on the perimeter, which I feel like might work. But Karl Towns, offensively, is very elite, but defensively, he has some holes. And that's why I feel like he's not as polished as the guy we have at number 2, Anthony Davis, who another guy that deals with injuries. But when he's healthy, we forget that in 2020, Anthony Davis, I'm gonna say it right now. In the 2020 season and in the 2020, not the 2020 season, but the 2020 playoffs in the bubble, AD was the best player on the Lakers. He stepped up in every big moment. He hit the game winner against Denver, in the finals against the Heat. Every big shot came from him. He was elite. He was unstoppable. He was a 20-something and 10 a game. He was the best defensive player in the league that year. He should have won the defensive player of the year. He finished second in 2020. He finished the second defensive player of the year, only behind Giannis. And LeBron finished second in MVP, only behind Giannis. He should have won it that year. I still believe that. And he was the best player in the bubble. Made big play after big play. Won the championship. And then 2021 was hurt. And going into 2021, going into that season, the best player in the league was Giannis, I think. And number 2 was... No, they had the best player in the league was LeBron, and the number 2 was AD. AD was ranked by NBA the second best player in the league. Then 2021 he gets hurt, and then 2022 hurt. So the last 2 years he's just been hurt, and he's never like showed that again. But when he's healthy, he's the best defensive big in the league, and I think he's better than Rudy Gobert. Honestly, he can guard anyone. He's an elite shot blocker, and he could score from anywhere. He could shoot the 3. He's a great free throw shooter. He can score from mid range. He size you up. He can dunk on you like he just. AD is a very polished big, and he's an NBA 75 player for a reason. People forget. And his time in New Orleans, I mean, man. But, he's an injury-riddled player. But when he's playing, right now, it starts the season, he's playing, he looks really good. And at number 1, the best player in the NBA, Giannis. Giannis is the best player in the NBA. He's definitely the best power forward. He's the best defensive player. He's the best all-around defender in the league, and he's the best all-around player. He can play make. He'll give you 30. He could guard any position. Guard. He's a power forward, but he can guard any wing. He can guard a point guard. He can guard a shooting guard. He can guard a 3. He can guard your big. He's the best all-around defender. Like interior defense, on the perimeter defense. He's the best all-around defender in the league. He'll give you 30. He's an NBA champion. He's a 2-time MVP. He's an NBA champion, NBA Finals MVP. He give you 30. He's a great playmaker. He checks every box for being the best player in the league. So that's all there is to say about Giannis being number 1. And we're going to move on into the centers. At the center position, give me number 5, which is wild. Again, this is kind of the Pascal one. And it honorable mention to Jared Allen and Jonas Valanciunas. These are really the guys that are up there for the top centers. And Kristaps Porzingis. Believe it or not. And at number 5, I have DeAndre Ayton, which doesn't seem right because didn't have that great of a year last year. And I think talent-wise, he definitely is number 5. And that's why I went with him over Jared Allen. But DeAndre Ayton is been shaky. He clearly doesn't want to be in Phoenix. He was about to sign with the Pacers. But defensively, he's very strong. He's a great defensive center. He could score. He's very good. Even when Devin Booker was out against the Pelicans, he showed his offensive capability. And maybe his role on Phoenix isn't as big as a role. Maybe if he was on Indiana, he would cement himself more. But, his attitude and just, he had that 1 year where he had to miss 20-something games. So I feel like Ayton is not proven, and I feel it's wrong putting him in the top 5 because he doesn't play like a top 5 center, but he's strong. Ayton is good. He needs to have a more legitimate role. At number 4, a guy that I am confident about, I got Rudy Gobert. Just talked about him. He's love him or hate him. He's a 3-time defensive player of the year for a reason, but that's where he gets his strong suit from. He's a 3-time defensive player of the year, but offensively, I mean, man, you're not going to be able to win with Rudy Gobert's second option. That was the problem with the Jazz. If Rudy Gobert is your second option, you're not going to win. I think he fits perfectly in Minnesota because he's the third option. They don't need him to score that much. They just need him for defense. And Utah, he bought the defense, and they obviously needed him for that. He was the anchor, but you would want more from him. But he's really like an 8-point per game scorer kind of guy. It's just he's unreal defensive talent. But offensive, he's giving you 8-10 a game, just off little skyhooks and layups. He can't shoot. He has no touch. His jumper's absolutely broke. Probably has a 20 shot rating on 2K. He can't guard the perimeter at all. He's just interior. He's the best interior defender, one of the best of all time. Already. But that's what holds him back. And at number 3 is Bam. And I think Bam is better right now than Rudy Gobert. He's a more versatile defender. Yeah, Rudy Gobert is a better interior defender. But Bam is not a bad interior defender. We see him make big plays. You saw him in the bubble. He's an elite shot blocker. He's a better. He's a little shorter. He's probably like 6'10", 6'9". So Gobert's taller. Gobert's like 7'1". But Bam is still an elite interior defender. He's not better than Gobert, but he's there. But he can guard the perimeter much better. He can guard all positions way better than Gobert can, which makes him more versatile. He can actually shoot the ball from mid-range and three, and he's got a little floater package, all things that Gobert doesn't have. He can run the floor better than Gobert, and he's just a better all-around scorer as well. And you can use you see the Heat have had more success with Bam as their second option than the Jazz did with Gobert as their second option. So I think Bam's a little better. And the top two, we all know who they are, and there's a big gap between Bam and number two. Very big gap. It's like there's a big gap between Gobert and Ayton right now. But at 2, I have Embiid. Embiid's having a slow start, but I mean, he's finished second in the MVP voting twice over the last 2 years, and the guy that's number 1 has finished first. And he's, what can I say about it, Embiid? You know, there's just games where he's just unstoppable. You can't do anything about him. If he's hot, you can't guard him. 7 foot, he score however he wants. He's a shooter. He can shoot from mid range. He has every move in his arsenal. He's got a deep bag. He's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. He's right there defensively. He's an anchor in the paint. And Embiid's an absolute monster. He's probably top 6 in the NBA players. And injury concerns haven't been that bad. You know, he's been playing most games. Like he's been the last 2-3 years, he's been healthy. So I'm gonna say Embiid at number 2, but I don't think he's better than Nikola Jokic at number 1. Nikola Jokic offensively, I think is better than Embiid because he's also another guy that when he's hot, you can't stop him. He got post fade, he got threes, he got floater. He's can just baby you in the paint. But the main thing about him is his playmaking. I think he's already the best passing big of all time. And he's definitely the best passing big in the league. He's probably the best passing big of all time. And you can argue that he's the best passer in the league just overall. And, you know, defensively, he's not better than Embiid. Embiid's a better defender, but Jokic is just, you know, he's good enough. But he's a 2-time reigning MVP, and he makes all the players around him better. And he's another guy that, like, even last year, you know, he's playing with scrubs all year. He's playing with subpar players, still able to lead his team to success. So, Jokic is top 5 player in his league, and he's number 1 to me. Centers. Wow. And if I had to give you my top 5 players overall in the league right now, it would be tough. The list for me would probably go Giannis, Steph, LeBron, Jokic, Luka, and then Embiid at 6. And then, but then KD. Yeah, no, I'd probably go KD 6, Embiid 7. And then everyone after that would probably be like, Kawhi, but Kawhi's going to move up, I'm telling you. It'd be like Kawhi, Tatum, AD, Donovan Mitchell, Booker, Dame. Like those guys. But that top 7 is hard. But we're going to finish off with a little segment I want to talk about. I want to talk about Kawhi Leonard. I hinted at it. I want to talk about him. And I want to talk about why he's currently the most underrated player and underappreciated player in this league. So now you can kick it back. Take a sip of your Coke if you're sipping it with me. Oh, one more. All right, now let's just have a little talk. Just 10 minutes. Kawhi Leonard. Let's just take a look at the timeline. 2014, a young Kawhi Leonard as the third option on the San Antonio team wins the championship and wins Finals MVP. Not Tim Duncan. He was not supposed to be the Finals MVP, but he was. Just because of how elite of a defender he was against LeBron James. He was so good that he won the Finals MVP in 2014 and a championship. And let's not forget, he was seconds away from winning in 2013. He was part of that 2013 team. And, you know, they were seconds away, Ray Allen 3 away from winning that championship. He would be a 3-time champion right now. And he was a young kid who was a 15 pick. No one had any expectation for him, but Pop knew he was the future, and Duncan was on his way out. Then you look at the 2015 team. 2015 goes by, 2016 now, and it's his team. Kawhi Leonard, Duncan's on his way out. Duncan's on his way out. Aldridge is still there, but Duncan's out, Parker's out, Ginobili's out, and it's Kawhi Leonard's team. And Kawhi Leonard is looking like an MVP player. In 2016, 2017, he was a top 5 player in this league. Defensively, he never went anywhere, but he just took leaps and leaps as a scorer, as having a bigger role. And now you're talking about a 2017, 2016, 2016-2018 year campaign where he's right there in the MVP conversations and right there one of the best in the league, scoring at an elite level. And then 2017 San Antonio, the first year that the Warriors assembled the super team with KD. Western Conference Finals, Kawhi Leonard is on a Spurs team that's severely undermatched. I'm probably pretty sure that team had Aldridge, but I think Ginobili was still there, and I think Patty Mills. I'm not even sure who was on that team, but Kawhi Leonard was the best player. And you're talking about a team that is going up against a super team Warriors, who very few people even got close to beating. And in game one, they're up like 40. Game one, they're up like 40. They're blowing them out. Kawhi Leonard looks like the best player in the planet. Looking like the best player on the planet. Zaza Pachulia has a dirty play on a shot, tears his Achilles, and they literally had to implement a rule because of that play on shot contest. Kawhi Leonard tears his Achilles. Obviously, he's out for the series. Warriors win the next 4. No problem. Go out to win the championship in 5 games against Cleveland. Then you wonder, wow. I mean, with the way the Spurs looked, not saying they would have won that series, but that series could have been competitive, and Kawhi Leonard looked like the best player on the planet. Now, a 2018 season goes by where we see the Warriors dominate again and win yet another championship against the Cavs in 4 games, and Kawhi Leonard's on the sideline. Kawhi Leonard's sidelined for that whole season with a torn Achilles, and then the hatred comes in for Kawhi because the season comes around and they have a chance to play the Warriors again. I'm pretty sure they were like an 8 or 7 seed, and they had a chance to play the Warriors in the first round. And doctors believed that Kawhi was ready to play. They had Kawhi play. They were ready for Kawhi to play. They said, Kawhi, you could play. And Kawhi said no. He felt he wasn't ready. And he felt he didn't want to play. He didn't want to play yet. He wanted to start the whole season. So they obviously get dominated without Kawhi. And everyone, Spurs fans and fans in general, would start hating on Kawhi. Like, how could you do that to your team? You were ready to play. It's a playoff series. You finally get your revenge, and you just shit out. Like, not much of a team player. Kawhi felt he did what was right for him. And we see that maybe Kawhi made the right decision because we see what happened with KD. KD in 2019 in that finals hurt his Achilles. Then he tried to come back to help the team. And what happened? He tore it worse and had to sit out the entire 2020 season. So maybe Kawhi did make the right decision all along. But now you're looking at 2018. Now it's 2019, and I think it was during the 2019 season, early. Kawhi Leonard gets traded to Toronto. It was the last year on his deal. It was the last year on Kawhi's deal out San Antonio, and they believed he was going to leave. Everyone was talking about Lakers. There was a lot of rumors about where he was going to go, but he was going to be a free agent after that 2019 season on San Antonio, and they knew he wasn't going to stay there. And Kawhi's a very unpredictable guy. So they knew he wasn't going to stay. And now you're looking at 2019. He gets traded to Toronto and swapped for DeMar DeRozan. And Toronto is obviously improving. Like, Kawhi Leonard was a better player than DeMar DeRozan. And Kawhi Leonard is still a top 5 talent in this league. So now he's going to Toronto, and he's only there for 1 year, though. Toronto knows this. They only get 1 year of Kawhi. But you're now looking at that legendary Toronto squad led by Lowry, Danny Green, Kawhi, Pascal, Marc Gasol, Norman Powell, all those boys, Serge Ibaka. And Kawhi leads the team to a number 2 seed. I remember going into that playoffs, the Bucks were the 1 seed, Giannis with the MVP. You had a couple other good teams. You had the Sixers with Butler and Embiid and Simmons. And the Raptors was kind of flying under the radar as a low-key 2 seed. And I remember thinking, like, these Raptors could be legit. And now, Kawhi Leonard, who already had a great regular season as the best player on that team, led them to the number 2 seed as that number 1. Has an amazing first round against the Magic. Dominates beats them in 7 games. Has one of the most legendary buzzer beaters of all time from the corner. We all remember it. And he just had a legendary series. Then in the Eastern Conference Finals, he's playing a Bucks team with the number 1 seed with the MVP Giannis. The Bucks go up 2-0. Everyone's writing off the Raptors. What does Kawhi do? Comes back down from 2-0 against the number 1 seed and reverse sweeps them. Wins it in 6. Dominant, electric performance in all those series. We all remember him dunking on Giannis. Kawhi looked like the best player in the world up until that point. KD's at home. KD's on the Warriors. LeBron's at home. And you're really thinking, wow, this guy has arrived. Then he goes into a playoffs. Yeah, KD's hurt. and wins game 1, loses game 2, and then wins game 3 and 4 against the Warriors. So now, yeah, they're playing without KD. So now he's playing a Warriors team without KD. And you can honestly argue that even without KD, though, like the Warriors core with just Steph, Clay, Dre, versus that Raptors team was still evenly matched. Like even without KD, that they were still evenly matched. And the Raptors go up 3-1. KD comes back game 5, tears Achilles in game 5. Warriors still take game 5, and then Kawhi has another great game, closes out game 6 on the road, and wins an NBA championship and Finals MVP with one of the best playoff runs and performances we've seen in recent history. At the end of 2019, a lot of guys like Skip Bayless, Max Kellerman, throwing him as the best player in the NBA because of what he was already doing defensively, and now he's leading his team, winning a championship and Finals MVP, averaging like 30 a game in the playoffs. That's 2019. Now let's fast forward to 2020. Despite winning a championship with Toronto, winning a championship with them, goes to Los Angeles Clippers, teams up with Paul George, and it's the favorite to win the championship that year. Them and the Lakers. Now you got the Lakers and the Clippers, the two best teams in the West, two best teams in the NBA. And that's all everyone's talking about. Lakers, Clippers, Lakers, Clippers, Lakers, Clippers. Kawhi rolling down in his commercial with the keychain. This is my city. Now it's like this is what we're talking about. Who's better, LeBron or Kawhi? Then everything looks good. They're in the semifinals, in the bubble. Obviously, the whole COVID year happens. They're in the bubble. LeBron and the Lakers are in the Western Conference Finals. They're playing the Mavericks. They're up 3-1. Everything looks good. They're handling their business. It's game 5. They're up like 20-something. Blow game 5. Blow game 6. Lose game 7. Get blown out. One of the most epic chokes of all time. Then the Lakers would go on to dominate. I'm not the Nuggets. It was the not the Nuggets. It was the not the Mavericks. Excuse me. It was the Nuggets. Go on to dominate the Nuggets and dominate the Heat in the finals, and LeBron wins the championship. So now everyone was praising Kawhi. Up until that point, he was the best player in the league. He was playing great up until that point. Loses. Kawhi was having a great playoffs. He was and now everyone's like, oh yeah, never mind. Everyone's like, oh, it's KD, it's LeBron, it's whatever. Then 2021, again, Kawhi looking good. The Clippers are right back in it, and they're playing against the Jazz, and they're in a 2-2 series with the Jazz, the number 1 seed in the semifinals, and it's 2-2, and Kawhi gets hurt in Game 4, and tears his ACL. Now, the Clippers still went on to win that series with just Paul George, but they lose against to the Suns, and the Suns were going to lose to the Bucks. But no, the Clippers were a better team than the Suns, and when you really think with Kawhi and Paul George, they could have beat the Suns and had a run of the championship that year. But now injury holds them back. But and then all of last year he didn't play. All of 2020 season year the Warriors won. He didn't play. He didn't touch the court towards ACL. But now he's back. And what reason do we have to believe that Kawhi Leonard is not that same player? Kawhi Leonard is still a top 5 talent. He's the best perimeter defender in the league. He's one of the best of all time. I put him in my top 5 perimeter defenders of all time. Right there with Scottie Pippen and Gary Payton and guys like that. And we forget that when he was still fully healthy, he's one of the best talents in the league, averaging 25-something a game. One of the best mid-range scorers in the league. Looking like one of the best scorers in the league. And he's on a roster that's built to win a championship. And last time we saw Kawhi at his best, yeah, he blew that 3-1 lead, but he was still looking like the best player in the league. Even 2021, looking like the best player in the league. 2019, he probably was the best player in the league that year. So now the fact that we're even ignoring him, not even considering him in the top 10 just because of injury, it's ridiculous. And if we're looking at guys that most people consider the top 10 players, Ja Morant, he's way better than Ja Morant. Jason Tatum, he's better than Jason Tatum. And honestly, I think he's right there with KD. He's better than Anthony Davis. I think he's a better player. I still rather have Kawhi Leonard than Joel Embiid, if I'm being honest. I think he's better than Jimmy Butler for sure. He's better than Dame. And I think he's right there with Luka and LeBron and Jokic. Call me crazy, but I think that's my hot take. And I just want to put some appreciative talk on Kawhi Leonard. Being a Lakers fan, being a LeBron fan, I hated Kawhi Leonard, and I was happy he choked. But now being a podcaster, being unbiased, Kawhi Leonard deserves more praise, and the disrespect that he gets within the NBA community is ridiculous. And I'm telling you now, when the Clippers win the championship this year, and Kawhi Leonard is back in the top 5, just come back to this video. But that's it. We're clocking in at 50 minutes. I want to thank you, everyone, for tuning in. It was a great discussion here on Double OT. We'll be back. Go enjoy your Halloween. I hope everyone's having a great Halloween. Make sure to, I'm sure there's going to be clips of this on our TikTok and our Instagram. Go to our TikTok and our Instagram. There's clips over there on TikTok. On Instagram, we do our score predictions before primetime games. We post all the clips over there on Instagram as well, both at Double OT, double O dot E dot on Instagram and TikTok. And on YouTube, you can listen to this whole podcast with seeing my face. You can see the video of it too on YouTube, and we also do YouTube clips on YouTube, little short segments, 10-minute segments, 8-minute segments on YouTube, and we post every podcast episode. We post the full-length episode with audio and video on YouTube. So, and it usually gets on YouTube before it gets on Apple Pod. So go check out our YouTube at Double OT as well. We're doing great stuff over there. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys all have a great Halloween. We'll be back with more NBA content, more NFL content, maybe even some World Series content. So thank you all, and have a great and blessed day.